Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And I got another story for you about a plastic surgeon who decided to operate on his wife, his own wife, which has some conflicts with moral and ethical issues when a physician operates on a family member. Back in the day, that was kind of a no-no. But this guy decided to operate on his wife, plastic surgeon, and she subsequently died. And we're seeing, and I've done previous videos where several of these doctors out here who have garnered the highest degree and then go out and practice, they end up doing some things that are not above board and even illegal and end up losing their licenses. So let's go. Here we go. Plastic surgeon charged with killing wife during cosmetic procedures. Dr. Benjamin Brown is charged with second-degree felony homicide in the 2023 death of his wife, Hillary Ellington Brown. A plastic surgeon who is licensed to practice in several states has been arrested in Florida on charges of killing his wife while performing cosmetic procedures on her. Dr. Benjamin Brown is charged with second-degree felony homicide and manslaughter by culpable negligence for the death of his wife, Hillary Ellington Brown. She was taken to the hospital on November 23, 2023, after suffering a medical emergency at her husband's medical office, and then she died at the hospital a week later on November 28th. The Florida Department of Health suspended Dr. Benjamin's medical license in May, citing not only Hillary's death, but other instances of alleged malpractice. Court TV reviewed the administrative complaint filed by the state, which details the procedure that led to Hillary's death. So here we go. Investigators said that Hillary was at her husband's office, Restore Plastic Surgery, to receive muscle plication, a procedure to strengthen muscles, liposuction on her arms, lip injections, and an ear adjustment procedure. On the morning of November 21st, Hillary allegedly prepared her own IV solution and placed it into IV bags. The wife prepared her own IV solution. She worked in her husband's office, so she had some knowledge of preparing for surgeries and dealing with patients, even though she was not a licensed or registered medical assistant, nurse, or any other ancillary job or title in the medical field. So she had no business preparing her own IVs, dealing with patients in any kind of stitch removal or any kind of scenario where she's assisting patients doing procedures. She was just a wife working at her husband's office. Now, she ended up preparing her own IV bag. So on the morning of November 21st, Hillary, the wife, allegedly prepared her own IV solution and placed it into IV bags, despite the fact that she had no medical training or license. The complaint notes Benjamin's alleged failure to properly document what medications Hillary was taking, saying she ingested a handful of multicolored pills, which included Valium, before showing signs of sedation. After the muscle plication, Hillary allegedly assisted in her own procedure by suturing her own skin back together. So she was not fully sedated. Must have been some kind of conscious sedation where she was semi-alert. During this portion of the procedure, Hillary became restless and her feet began twitching. This is during the procedure that her husband is performing on her, and she's not fully sedated. Despite this, Dr. Benjamin allegedly continued doing the procedure, injecting his wife with more anesthetic and continuing to do liposuction. At that point, Hillary said her vision began to blur, and she told her husband she saw orange before having a seizure and becoming unresponsive. So this doctor is operating on his own wife at his office. After approximately 20 minutes, Dr. Benjamin began CPR and the medical assistant called 911. Miss Hillary was taken to the hospital in cardiac arrest with elevated lactic acid levels and suspected lidocaine toxicity. She never regained consciousness. The administrative complaint revealed 2 other women had filed complaints against this same Dr. Benjamin, alleging that he had given them gluteal fat injections, also known as Brazilian butt lifts or BBL, despite their explicit statements saying they did not want the procedure done. Those procedures were done in 2021 and 2022, with Hillary acting as an unlicensed assistant in at least one of the procedures. So this doctor, prior to him working on his wife, had worked on 2 other patients and then decided to do extra procedures on them and give them fat injections for a Brazilian butt lift that the patient did not want. So there's all kinds of medical violations that are taking place here. Dr. Benjamin is also licensed as a medical provider in the District of Columbia, West Virginia, and Virginia, according to state records. What an incredible story. This is a gentleman who must have been very smart, top of his class, went on to go to medical school, become a plastic surgeon. Here again, as I've stated in some of my previous videos, he took an oath for helping and healing, and he ended up doing just the opposite to his own wife and decided to do several surgical procedures on her. And she set up her own IV. He didn't do it. An anesthesiologist didn't do it. A nurse anesthetist didn't do it. And so you're talking about exuberance, arrogance, hubris, in the sense that they decided that they were smart enough that they could both participate in this procedure. The wife as the patient, and she's her own assistant by suturing up part of the procedure while she's still having surgery done by her husband. There are flaws and legalities all throughout this entire story, which does not make an ounce of sense. It also shows with the 2 previous cases of 2 other patients making complaints about him doing extra surgeries. Was this doctor slowly losing his mind, mental illness, or did he have this kind of God-like utopian view of himself where he felt he could do almost anything and work his way through it? Sometimes when you step out there too far, eventually you will get bit. And he decided to work on his wife, do surgery in his office, and she subsequently lost consciousness and died. I'm seeing quite a few stories, and I've done some videos. One was on another plastic surgeon out of Ohio who was considered herself the TikTok doctor, Dr. Catherine Roxanne. She was performing surgeries and videotaping them and putting them up on TikTok. We're talking HIPAA violations, all kinds of things. Here is another person, this Dr. Catherine Roxanne, who dedicated her life to helping and healing and got caught into the chasm of social media and becoming popular. And she was actually videotaping her surgeries and talking and being distracted during that time. And she ended up losing her license after all the years of dedication to become a board-certified plastic surgeon. I did another case on a doctor who was a medical doctor at the Minnesota Mayo Clinic. Dr. Connor Bowman, young gentleman, had a pharmacist's wife. He ended up wanting to get a divorce and has been alleged to have poisoned his wife and murdered her. So he has been indicted. Instead of getting a divorce, he decides that he's going to poison his wife, who was a pharmacist. So you're seeing a little trail of individuals with the highest degrees. I've done several videos on lawyers, on judges that are supposed to be on the positive side of law, and then they end up on the other side of law committing crimes and ending up as criminals and going to prison and losing their licenses in some of these other egregious behaviors that have taken place. So I've done videos on lawyers, judges, surgeons, physicians. We had a fake dentist that I did a video on, black female, who was not a licensed dentist, and she was practicing dentistry in Vegas and in Chicago and eventually got caught. What is happening to our professionals today? These people are garnering the highest degrees you can have. There's a certain level of respect and fortitude that goes with it. And whether you're a lawyer, judge, or doctor, many of these patients and clients are putting their lives in your hands and hoping and praying that you're going to do the right thing. This is a very unfortunate case where this plastic surgeon decided to operate on his own wife, and she was also working in his office and was not a licensed medical provider whatsoever. He decides to do surgery on his wife. She's preparing her own IV, and that went haywire. And unfortunately, during the procedure, she went unconscious and had seizures and subsequently died. So not only is this gentleman, Dr. Benjamin Brown, going to lose his medical license, he got indicted, but he also lost his wife due to his hands of so-called healing, but his hands ended up being the hands of hurting and killing his wife. What a dichotomy, what a pendulum swing from good to bad that took place with this gentleman. And if he is that arrogant and has that much godlike narcissistic personality traits, he's probably not the doctor that you should be going to. And if his career is over after it gets out to the general public that he performed surgery on his own wife and then she did not make it out of the surgery and now he's being charged with murder, his career is over, allegedly. And he is possibly looking at prison time. He will never practice as a doctor again, and such an unfortunate circumstance. Tell me what you think. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth in a positive, righteous, and God-fearing way.